調轉向出邊，向我呢邊。
I'm on my way to FONDACO Marcello, a 15th century building on the Grand Canal that used to be a tobacco and textile warehouse. Today, I'm going to meet a sculptor who is also a jewelry artist and an innovator. His name is Wallace Chan. My name is Francesco da Mosto. I'm a Venetian, architect and writer. My family has lived here in Venice for 1,000 years. It was one of the earliest families to venture to these Venetian islands. The title of the exhibition is Titans, a dialogue between materials, space and time. The first sculpture that greets us is about 3 meters tall, composed of titanium and iron. The first thing that comes to my mind watching it is how opposite characters and colors are put together. Titanium is about future, iron is the past. Titanium is a precious metal. Iron is low cost, and gray silvery titanium is cold, while reddish iron is warm. I see a lot of contrasts. So Wallace, tell me about your exhibition. Why did you call it Titans?
I began carving traditional Chinese motifs in the 70s. By the 80s, I read a book about Michelangelo. It opened my mind. I saw the muscles, the tension, the strength. I thought there was another world out here. I needed to go see it, but I could not afford to travel. So I went to Western cemeteries where there were sculptures of angels and saints. I went there, and sometimes I slept there just to learn. I also read a lot about Greek mythologies and made a lot of carvings and sculptures inspired by the stories. People know my jewelry, but first I'm a carver, a sculptor. What you see today is not from today, but a lifetime of memories and experiences. Titanium is named after Titans, a group of super strong giants, children of heaven and earth in Greek mythologies. Titans is a title that connects my work to my past.
I love that the sculptures that you have done, the faces are so peaceful.
Yes, you cannot tell if it is a man or a woman, and you can see that it's not young and not old. It is when you are completely at peace with the universe, when you forget yourself, your age, your time.
And that is a moment in which you find your essence.
Yes, that's how I feel when I create.
And why do you feel you need to create?
I live to create, and I create to live. It is only when I create that I find myself, my meaning of existence, and only like that can I live. The power of creativity is my lifeline.
I was counting on this sculpture that there are 8 faces. Is it right?
You are right. Some are cameo, some are integral, some are yin, and some are yang.
In a way, they are going in and going out, going in and going out.
It's the moment when the self is about to disappear. But it is not just one moment. It is not just one time. The self keeps coming and going.
Watching the different materials, I think you expect that the iron will fade away and instead the titanium will stay there forever.
I thought I'm a material body, but if I can embody myself with another material, I can outlive myself. I will transcend the time of my body.
So in a way, the sculpture is all you. What are you trying to say with your sculptures?
Yes and no. I cannot say for sure. Once the words are done, they also take on life of their own. Part of me is here, and the rest is the universe, something much bigger than me. The sculptures tell their own stories, stories that are not mine, because they can embody so much more than what I give. But when I create, I always try to catch a sense of poetic beauty, something monumental, historical, calm, and peaceful.
And do you think that the light of the reflection of Venice on the surface of the water has given some inspiration?
I take a ferry between Hong Kong and Macau almost every day. I look at the sea a lot, the light on the water, the wave. They are always changing, at times so gentle, at times so strong. I always wondered about the light and the movements of the water. Light is very important for me to communicate with my materials, both stones and metals. With light, they come alive. For my sculptures, the process with the metal, my dialogue with the materials, space and time, is part of my work.
Do you think that doing this creation, do you feel a lot of struggles doing it?
Yes, it is always full of risk and failures. Look at my hand, here, here, and here. These are some of the scars from many years of working with different materials, using my own methods and tools.
It's like a tightrope walker.
Yes, indeed.
Would you like we have a look also at the other works?
Of course.
Wallace Chan became a gemstone carver in 1973. when he was 16 years old. He was a monk for 6 months in 2001. Now, at 65 years old, this is his first time to exhibit in Venice. And this is also the very first time his large-scale titanium sculptures meet the world. Wallace has been working with titanium since the early 2000s. And then a few years ago, he decided to create sculptures with the space-age metal as large as he could. Let's find out more from James Putnam, the curator of this exhibition. James founded the British Museum's Contemporary Arts and Cultures program, and he was also the program's curator. First thing I would like to ask you, in this period, so difficult, with the pandemic, well, it was a great challenge to organize this exhibition.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, the art world, like anything else, is pretty much paralyzed by the pandemic. And so we had to organize this exhibition virtually, you know, with different people online in London, in Denmark, and in China, all together. And so we were having regular meetings, working it all out. But I mean, the amazing thing is, Wallace Chan took a big risk to do this exhibition, but had confidence in doing it. And this is probably one of the first, you know, major exhibitions coming out of the pandemic. I think I haven't seen anything like this before. I mean, this guy wants to make 3-meter high titanium sculptures. I mean, that's pretty serious.
There's something that makes it like coming from ancient times.
Yeah, I mean, that's what really attracts me, because I'm you know, essentially an art historian. I love historical art, I love contemporary art, and I can see so many different elements all fused together in his work. You know, I see, you know, something classic, and I can see Giacometti, I can see, or, you know, all kinds of different things all coming together in the work, all fusing together. Yeah, I mean, I've always had this feeling that, you know, the past and present is you know, totally interconnected all the time. People like to sort of separate it and say, you know, this is something, this is old art, this is ancient art, or this is modern art, and let's keep it separate. But I think the two things always have a dialogue. There's always an interconnection between the two.
The contrast that there are in the material that he used, that is just two materials, that we have the iron and the titanium, is like a dualism in a certain way, and also in the figures that in a way seems masculine and feminine at the same time.
Yeah, there's this element of sort of androgyny with it, you know, that they're very calm, very sensitive faces that are very meditative, very sublime. That kind of, you know, lead you in. I mean, I always loved sort of ancient art, like Buddhist art, ancient Egyptian art, Greek art, and so all this sort of seems to come together in the work. It's very calming. I think when you look at the sculptures yourself, you don't really need a big text to talk about it. They talk to you, you know, they communicate something very spiritual. If we look at this sculpture, which is, you know, obviously very complex, there's a lot going on here, but I mean, you can, every different angle is, you know, slightly different. And we have this interesting kind of Drost effect.
Can you explain me?
Yeah, well, this Drost effect thing is something they use a lot in graphic art. I think I first saw it on a sort of Pink Floyd album cover or something like that, where you have like a small picture with another picture kind of going on. And here we have it, you know, in 3 dimensions. You know, it's a bit like, you know, Magritte's famous picture of the apple in the small room, the big apple in the small room.
Yeah.
It's all about, you know, how you place this thing in the context. So it's all about his command of scale, and the microcosm and macrocosm. You know, that's all about what his story is all about. You know, making something, you know, very small and tiny that has, you know, a universal connection with the world, and something that has a more human connection on a smaller scale.
How strong do you think in Wallace's work is time?
Yeah, well, it's interesting you should say that, because when we were installing this exhibition with Wallace, and we were adjusting the lights, he was mentioning how very much that if you watch the shadows here, they're very much like the minute and second hands on the clock. And so he's perceiving each sculpture and the shadows that come out of them as somewhat relating to time. So he's totally thinking of, the sculptures as being timeless, of going on and on and on to infinity, eternity, all these ideas. And I think this particular sculpture, this was my favorite sculpture because it's almost like melting as it comes down into a blob at the bottom. You can see the face kind of contorting and distorting as it melts into a molten thing. And it probably relates to the fact of him, being in the foundry and making this and seeing something molten turning into a solid item. The installation in there, which is something very different from obviously the freestanding sculpture. We can see the whole idea of the Titans and the idea that Prometheus gave to humanity the secret of fire and the about
everything
metalworking.
started.
Yes, exactly. But also the skill of metalworking, and Wallace Chan has very much developed great skill at working titanium that nobody else has. It's almost sort of alchemic.
It's like a painting in a certain way. It's a painting done by light.
Yeah, that's just what it's like. Yeah, and I think he has a good understanding of light, and you can see all these reflections. And actually, when you're in there, it's like a big cathedral. So it's reflected above and around, and then you look at into the wall, and you see all these sculptures that he's made inside of the mirror that are reflecting backwards and forwards. And you can see your own face inside, and you want to put your hand in and touch it, but there's nothing there. It's a kind of illusion, which is all very mysterious. Well, he hasn't told me. Maybe it's a secret.
It's a secret. It's a secret.
Yes.
The mirror is an important part of the Venetian tradition, and an important part of my life. Inside this space, with mirrors, lights, twisting faces, I feel a lot of emotions. I feel a strong sense of intimacy. I wonder if it is like walking into a black hole, a place where time is stretched and space is distorted, no longer in the forms and shapes we know. And we become part of it, a point of infinite density. And why there is the color blue and green?
I think these were the colors that he found most sensitive and appealing to
nature. The strength of nature.
And water as well. It's water and nature, isn't it? Green of plants and blue of water.
It's part of nature. Yeah. That is exactly why, at the end of the day, some physical experience cannot be replaced. While we try to make this virtual experience as meaningful as possible, we very much hope to welcome you here in Venice. My name is Francesco da Mosto. Thank you for joining us at the virtual opening of Wallace Chan's Titans, a dialogue between materials, space, and time. Many heartfelt congratulations to Wallace. And now, please stay tuned for a 1-minute review of award-winning director Martina Margot Cotz's The Art of Materials. Grazie, and see you soon in Venice.